and Culture here at the Catholic University of America. He is the director of this set of two organizations that make this seminar possible. And I will ask you, Bill, to officially open the proceedings from now until the end, so that we can be duly encouraged by your words and by your friendship, so that we move on as soon as you let us. But it's up to you to open or not open this 2026
well, let me think
edition of
about
the seminar.
that. No, it's one of the great pleasures of the year, actually, to officially open this seminar, which is now, I think, in its 42nd year. Now, I have to confess, I haven't been here for the whole time, but I have been accompanying the work of RVP, which is the International Council for Research in Values and Philosophy, the international network and organization that is the lifeblood of our work. And then the McLean Center here at Catholic University, which is, if you will, the physical footprint of what is largely a virtual network. And I want to say a word about the history of RVP, as we call it, and of this seminar in particular, to induct you into the narrative and into the project. And then I'll also have just a couple of words about the theme and about the instructor that we have the good fortune to have with us. I first met George McLean back in the 90s. He's the namesake of our center here and the founder of RVP, and in a sense, the inspiration, the inventor of the unique spirit that informs this network. He was a philosophy professor here at Catholic University for his career. He was also very active in international philosophical associations. He hobnobbed with the great philosophers of his day. But at some point in his career, he took a sabbatical and went to what was sent, I think, to India. And his encounter with Indian philosophy, with Indian religion, with Indian culture revolutionized his thinking, I think, and committed him ultimately to what became his life's work of building bridges among cultures. And after he retired, he was able, with the support of some family members, to build up a network, to ground a center, to coordinate activities in what eventually became the Council for Research in Values and Philosophy. He really started in the late 70s, and one of the first activities that he planned was a delegation of leading thinkers, I would say North Atlantic thinkers from Europe and the Western Europe and the US, to go meet with like-minded scholars in Poland, behind the Iron Curtain, at a time when there was a good deal of foment in Polish society. At that time, he was able to coordinate with the Archbishop of Krakow, Karol Wojtyla, and other Polish scholars, and the Solidarity movement. And he was able to kind of create, almost under the radar, as it were, a dialogue of ideas, fundamental theological and philosophical and political ideas about the character of the person, about liberty, about the nature of culture and of cultural differences and similarities. And I think that inspired him to continue this work in other venues around the world. So he began to build up, through his contacts, a large network, starting with philosophers, but ultimately including social scientists, religious leaders, political figures, other like-minded people. And the idea was to, in a way that went off the beaten track at the time, bring in voices from the margins, bring them together with influential philosophers and thinkers. He had people like it's striking to me to go back and look through some of the many now I think well over 300 publications that the council has put out over the years, because you find leaders in almost every field in the humanities. I was just yesterday browsing through a collection of reflections on shifts in the understanding of morality in the 90s, and there was Paul Ricoeur commenting on Pope John Paul II's encyclical Veritatis Splendor, and voices from a number of other fields in philosophy and theology, gauging the change in time. George was always interested in trying to figure out the deep movements, the tectonic movements of the human spirit that were going to be shaping philosophy in the coming years. And now, for example, as many people begin to focus on questions like AI, the influence of artificial intelligence on intellectual life, we can go back and look at projects on philosophy and technology that George was coordinating in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, that often have very prescient things to say about some of the situations that we are encountering now. So George built up this network, and today, as you begin your participation in this seminar, you are joining the network, in a sense. The undertaking, the Council for Research in Values and Philosophy, has centered on a few interrelated types of projects. One of them that I just mentioned is the publication series. Gatherings like this seminar, some of the conferences that RVP has organized over the years, individual research projects, and the work of individual scholars have all been published as monographs or collections in our series, and hopefully you will be contributing to that series as well. The network, RVP, has worked closely over the years with the World Congress of Philosophy that takes place, the mega gathering of philosophers around the world from all different cultures that takes place every 5 years. And we always, George had always sponsored a pre-Congress, a tradition that we've continued. So we are looking forward to organizing a pre-Congress. We had a very good meeting in 2024 in Rome before the World Congress that took place there, with over 100 participants in our network. And we're working now on plans for 2028, which will be in Tokyo. And hopefully some of you will be there as well. The council also fosters research projects. In around 2010, we connected with Charles Taylor, the philosopher, and the work that he was doing on a secular age, and initiated a number of research projects in quite a few different countries, actually. Ultimately, we generated, I think, 17 different nationally based, regionally based reflections on the process of secularity and the different manifestations of secularity and post-secularity and the way they're changing those societies around the world. So those research projects is another activity of the network. But perhaps the heart of the network is this international seminar, because the participants in the seminar traditionally would come to Washington. Since the onset of the pandemic, we have had to move to, at first, an online, and now we have a hybrid format for the seminar. But the seminar brings together talents, voices, perspectives from all the different continents, scholarly cultures around the world. Each year, we come up with a dynamic, diverse group of thinkers, some younger, some senior, to focus on a particular topic in an intensive way. And that proves, in our experience, often to be a formative experience for the participants. And many of them, first of all, remained connected in recent years, I think partly to, in a sense, compensate for not having the intensity of a 5-week in-person event. But also simply due to popular demand, we have extended the initial 5-week phase of the seminar into a kind of year-long follow-up extension that takes place monthly on weekends that continues to bring people together and allows them to refine their work and continue the dialogue and continue the fellowship that is created in this group. So what we found is that many people who've taken part in the seminar over the years have gone back to their home institutions in China or Turkey or Tanzania or wherever, and maintain their contacts with the network, and eventually, when the time was ripe, determined to hold their own event, conference, and invite people from the network and beyond to take part in a like-minded activity at their own institution. So each year, RVP collaborates with partners around the world, and we have somewhere between half a dozen and a dozen of these conferences. Just this summer, we had meetings in Vilnius, and we had a very well-organized meeting in Poznan, thanks to Lydia, who we're happy to have with us in this iteration of the seminar. We had a meeting in Bucharest, and we had additional meetings in South Africa and in Addis Ababa. And we will have meetings in the coming year in other places as well, again, which you may consider participating in. But hopefully someday you may find yourself organizing your own intellectual inquiry or conference in conjunction with our network. So that is the network that you are participating in by taking part in this seminar over the next a few weeks. And the topics for the seminar vary from year to year. We try to touch on what we think of as either very pressing, urgent themes or emergent themes that are around the corner. We try to maintain the spirit of Father McLean in making sure that all voices are heard, and in trying to go deep in our reflections. However, I think that a few of the topics in recent years have been driven by urgent societal and political concerns. And I think that's reflected in this year's focus on the themes of self, solidarity, and civility. And I think we'll find that each of those terms in its way is extraordinarily rich. We had a series of events and talks. Sally Schultz here was a very significant contributor to a dialogue that we had about solidarity, and she's an expert on this topic. Again, a complex topic which has historical and cultural nuances to it that are very intriguing. There's a socialist tradition of thinking about solidarity. There are religious traditions of thinking about solidarity. There are practical traditions related to labor unions, for example, that are connected to solidarity. And the versatility of that term is something that I think we will be trying to unpack. And civility is also a similarly complex and complicated term. It can represent something like the virtue of friendliness, articulated by Aquinas and others. It can simply be a measure of a population's readiness to engage in vibrant democratic life. It's part of the transition, the development of certain forms of civility to modernity in societies around the world. And it's also a seriously lacking capacity certainly in our society here and in many societies around the world, where it's a pressing question about how we can build up the capacity to exercise civility as a special capacity for, first of all, living together, coexisting peaceably in cities or in urban environments, but by extension in modern states. It's a critical but under-researched value and term that is necessary for the smooth functioning of complex societies. So our investigation over the next weeks will tap into these terms. We will invite your insights, your experiences from your own societies, and we look forward to a very rich dialogue that we hope will generate lasting insights. Now, we are very fortunate in this seminar to benefit from the guidance, the extensive knowledge, but also the wisdom of our instructor, Professor Joao Villechá from the Gregorian University, the storied Jesuit university in Rome. And we're very fortunate to have him, first of all, because he's a very accomplished political philosopher who has written many contributions over the years on topics too numerous to list, but including work on technology, one of his newer topics, and the acceleration of societies, on important thinkers ranging from the ancients to Renaissance philosophy, one of his specialties, to modern figures like Emmanuel Levinas. He is also very active internationally. He's edited prominent journals. He is one of the organizers through the Association FISP of the World Congress of Philosophy. And this is now his 14th or 15th year, I think, leading this seminar, really out of the goodness of his heart and his commitment to the mission of the council. So with that introduction and my warmest thanks to Joao, let me turn things back over to you to get the